I'm Taylor Carmon, and I'm currently a postdoc at Rutgers University. I don't think it was exactly like a specific person, but it was more that I started reading a lot of research articles online about health and nutrition. Basically, I was reading articles that were correlating with the diseases and things that I was seeing in my community and my family. So I wanted to read about how can you prevent these diseases or cure these diseases. And I was reading so much that I thought that maybe I should get a formal education in nutrition science or dietetics. So from there, I decided to get a bachelor's degree in nutrition science. My current research focuses on understanding lipid metabolism and how it's regulated. So we know that too many lipids can lead to obesity in the human body, which can cause many different metabolic disorders such as diabetes or high blood pressure. And also on the flip side, too little lipids can cause diseases such as lipodystrophy that's prone to inflammatory diseases and cancer. So in my research, we used a model organism, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, to understand the most important enzyme in lipid synthesis and lipid regulation, which is phosphatidate phosphatase, and how this enzyme is regulated. Ultimately, understanding how lipids are regulated and metabolized will help lead to pharmaceutical strategies to help eliminate lipid-related diseases. In the beginning, there was definitely some twists and turns because I didn't initially start out being thinking about being a scientist. So originally, I started out going learning a trade. I was a welder for a certain amount of time. I wound up being a welder in high school and part time for the Department of Defense. So I was kind of a co-op. And then I went to get an associate's degree in machine tool technology, basically working with parts that I was developing for the military. And I served many different positions working for the Department of Defense. I went to Kuwait and Iraq. And it was during this time while I was working for the Department of Defense that I started looking at these diseases and stuff like that and reading articles. And I started being more interested in science. So when I enrolled to get my bachelor's degree at Jacksonville State University, I studied nutrition science and dietetics, and then I developed an interest in food science. So when I started to get my to go into graduate school, I didn't actually know where I would focus on in food science, but I started talking to a professor, Dr. Stilianos Fakis at Alabama A&M in food science, and he was actually working in lipid biochemistry. And he told me a little bit of the ultimate goal was to create pharmaceuticals that could be used to alleviate certain diseases. And this is kind of, where my research in science interest started at, looking at how we could alleviate some of these diseases. So I completed my master's and PhD in food science with a concentration in lipid biochemistry. And once I completed my PhD, that's when I learned of the position at Rutgers University, where I'm currently a postdoc working under Dr. George Carmon. When I worked for the Department of Defense, I really enjoyed working for the Department of Defense. However, now my career goals are to go back and work for in the government sector, but however, maybe play in a scientific role as far as in doing research, doing science, and maybe even doing some outreach, pretty much educating maybe the soldiers or the community about nutrition using the things that I've learned since I've been in school. However, there's been many twists and turns in my education and my work history, so I am kind of leaving my options open after I complete my postdoc. The thing I love the most is that my research will actually ultimately be utilized to help develop mechanisms and pharmaceuticals that can be used to treat and cure diseases, which is basically going back to the start of how I decided to get in science field. So it's just important to me that my research will be used ultimately to help cure diseases. And the advice that I would give aspiring scientists is just to, I guess, keep going. Like every day, if you're working towards your goals, no matter how many setbacks you have, if you continue to work towards your goals, ultimately you will complete them.